Welcome. Learn about 3M and global hunt for N95 masks. The 3M Company is an American multinational conglomerate corporation operating in the fields of industry, worker safety, healthcare, and consumer goods. The company produces over 60,000 products under several world-renowned brands, including adhesives, abrasives, laminates, passive fire protection, personal protective equipment, window films, paint protection films, dental and orthodontic products, electrical and electronic connecting and insulating materials, medical products, car care products, electronic circuits, healthcare software and optical films. It is based in Maplewood, Minnesota, a suburb of St. Paul. 3M made $32.8 billion in total sales in 2018 and ranks number 95 in the Fortune 500 list of the largest United States corporations by total revenue. As of 2018, the company has approximately 93,500 employees and has operations in more than 70 countries. N95 mask. An N95 mask or N95 respirator is a particulate filtering facepiece respirator that meets the N95 standard of the U.S. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health air filtration rating, meaning that it filters at least 95% of airborne particles, while not resistant to oil. It is the most common particulate filtering facepiece respirator. This kind of respirator protects against particulates, but not gases or vapors. N95 respirators are considered functionally equivalent to certain respirators regulated under non-U.S. jurisdictions, such as FFP2 respirators of the European Union and KN95 respirators of China. However, slightly different criteria are used to certify their performance, such as the filter efficiency, test agent, and flow rate, and permissible pressure drop. The N95 mask requires a fine mesh of synthetic polymer fibers, also known as non-woven polypropylene fabric, which is produced through a highly specialized process called melt blowing that forms the inner filtration layer that filters out hazardous particles. 2020 Coronavirus Pandemic. The N95 masks are in short supply and high demand during the current 2019-20 coronavirus pandemic. Production of N95 masks has been limited due to constraints on the supply of non-woven polypropylene fabric as well as the cessation of exports from China. China controls 50% of global production of masks, and facing its own coronavirus epidemic, has dedicated all its production for domestic use, only allowing exports through government-allocated humanitarian assistance. After China had lifted its export restrictions on N95 masks, the United States had the highest demand for masks. President Donald Trump ordered the Federal Emergency Management Agency to secure them for the U.S., and companies were directed to produce them through the Defense Production Act in late March 2020. In early April 2020, reports from Germany, France, and Canada indicated that the United States had successfully seized and redirected shipments of N95 masks produced for these countries by Chinese facilities to the U.S. 3M History. 5 businessmen founded the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company as a mining venture in Two Harbors, Minnesota, in 1902. The goal was to mine corundum, but this failed because the mine's mineral holdings were anorthosite, which had no commercial value. Co-founder John Dwan solicited funds in exchange for stock, and Edgar Ober and Lucius Ordway took over the company in 1905. The company moved to Duluth and began researching and producing sandpaper products. William L. McKnight, later a key executive, joined the company in 1907, and A.G. Bush joined in 1909. 3M finally became financially stable in 1916 and was able to pay dividends. The company moved to St. Paul in 1910, where it remained for 52 years before outgrowing the campus and moving to its current headquarters at 3M Center in Maplewood, Minnesota, in 1962. Expansion and modern history. In 1947, 3M began producing perfluorooctanoic acid by electrochemical fluorination. In 1951, DuPont started purchasing PFOA from then Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company for use in the manufacturing of Teflon, a product that brought DuPont $1 billion a year profit by the 1990s. DuPont referred to PFOA as C8. The original formula for Scotchgard, a water repellent applied to fabrics, was discovered accidentally in 1952 by 3M chemists Patsy Sherman and Samuel Smith. Sales began in 1956, and in 1973 the two chemists received a patent for the formula. In the late 1950s, 3M produced the first asthma inhaler, but the company did not enter the pharmaceutical industry per se until the mid-1960s with the acquisition of Riker Laboratories, moving it from California to Minnesota. 3M retained the name Riker Laboratories for the subsidiary until at least 1985. In the mid-1990s, 3M Pharmaceuticals, as the division came to be called, produced the first CFC-free asthma inhaler in response to adoption of the Montreal Protocol by the United States. In the 1980s and 1990s, the company spent 15 years developing a topical cream delivery technology which led in 1997 to health authority approval and marketing of a symptomatic treatment for genital herpes. Aldera. After 4 decades, 3M divested its pharmaceutical unit through 3 deals in 2006, netting more than $2 billion. At the time, 3M Pharmaceuticals comprised about 20% of 3M's healthcare business and employed just over 1,000 people. 3M Mincom was involved in some of the first digital audio recordings of the late 1970s to see commercial release when a prototype machine was brought to the Sound 80 studios in Minneapolis. After drawing on the experience of that prototype recorder, 3 minutes later introduced in 1979 a commercially available digital audio recording system called the 3M Digital Audio Mastering System. 3M launched Press and Peel in stores in 4 cities in 1977, but results were disappointing. A year later 3 minutes instead issued free samples directly to consumers in Boise, Idaho, with 94% of those who tried them indicating they would buy the product. The product was sold as Post-its in 1979 when the rollout introduction began, and was sold across the United States from April 6, 1980. The following year, they were launched in Canada and Europe. On its 100th anniversary, 3M officially changed its legal name to 3M Company on April 8, 2002. On September 8, 2008, 3M announced an agreement to acquire Meadwiar's, a car care products company that was family-owned for over a century. On August 30, 2010, 3M announced that they had acquired Cogent Systems for $943 million. On October 13, 2010, 3M completed acquisition of Arizant Inc. In December 2011, 3M completed the acquisition of the Winterthur Technology Group, a bonded abrasives company. As of 2012, 3M was one of the 30 companies included in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, added on August 9, 1976, and was 97 on the 2011 Fortune 500 list. On January 3, 2012, it was announced that the Office and Consumer Products division of Avery Dennison was being bought by 3M for $550 million. The transaction was cancelled by 3M in September 2012 amid antitrust concerns. In May 2013, 3M announced that it was selling Scientific Anglers and Ross Reels to Orvis. Ross Reels had been acquired by 3M in 2010. In March 2017, it was announced that 3M was purchasing Johnson Control International plc's safety gear business, Scott Safety, for $2 billion. In 2017, 3M had net sales for the year of $31.657 billion, up from $30.109 billion the year before. In 2018, it was reported that the company would pay $850 million to end the Minnesota water pollution case concerning perfluorochemicals. On May 25, 2018, Michael F. Roman was appointed CEO by the board of directors. As of August 2018, 3M India Ltd. was the only listed 3M company subsidiary. On December 19, 2018, 3M announced it had entered into a definitive agreement to acquire the technology business of M.Modal for a total enterprise value of $1.0 billion. In October 2019, 3M completed the purchase of Acelity and its KCI subsidiaries worldwide for $6.7 billion, including assumption of debt and other adjustments. Environmental record. 3M's pollution prevention PACE program was established in 1975. The program initially focused on pollution reduction at the plant level and was expanded to promote recycling and reduce waste across all divisions in 1989. By the early 1990s, approximately 2,500 3P projects decreased the company's total global pollutant generation by 50% and saved 3M $600 million by eliminating the production of waste requiring subsequent treatment. In 1983, the Oakdale dump in Oakdale, Minnesota, was listed as an EPA Superfund site after significant groundwater and soil contamination by VOCs and heavy metals was uncovered. The Oakdale dump was a 3M dumping site utilized through the 1940 and 1950. During the 1990 and 2000, 3M reduced releases of toxic pollutants by 99% and greenhouse gas emissions by 72%. The company earned the United States Environmental Protection Agency's Energy Star Award. Each year the honor was presented. As of 2012. In 1999, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency began investigating perfluorinated chemicals after receiving data on the global distribution and toxicity of perfluorooctanosulfonic acid. 3M, the former primary producer of PFOS from the U.S., announced the phase-out of PFOS, perfluorooctanoic acid, and PFOS-related product production in May 2000. Perfluorinated compounds produced by 3M were used in non-stick cookware and stain-resistant fabrics. The Cottage Grove facility manufactured PFCs from the 1940 to 2002. In response to PFC contamination of the Mississippi River and surrounding area, 3M stated the area will be cleaned through a combination of groundwater pump-out wells and soil sediment excavation. The restoration plan was based on an analysis of the company property and surrounding lands. The on-site water treatment facility that handled the plant's post-production water was not capable of removing the PFCs, which were released into the nearby Mississippi River. The cleanup cost estimate was $50 to $56 million, funded from a $147 million environmental reserve set aside in 2006. In 2008, 3M created the Renewable Energy Division within 3M's industrial and transportation business to focus on energy generation and energy management. In late 2010, the state of Minnesota sued 3M for $5 billion in punitive damages, claiming they released PFCs, classified a toxic chemical by the EPA, into local waterways. A settlement for $850 million was reached in February 2018, although in 2019, 3M, along with the Chemours Company and DuPont, appeared before lawmakers to deny responsibility, with company senior VP of Corporate Affairs Denise Rutherford arguing that the chemicals pose no human health threats at current levels and have no victims. 2020 Coronavirus Pandemic. On March 20, 2020, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio requested 3 million N95 masks from Federal Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar. According to Jennifer Ehrlich, a 3M spokeswoman, the masks are manufactured in Latin America, China, and Europe, as well as the United States. Ehrlich said the manufacturing capacities of specific plants and products, as well as specific sales volume and customer information, are 3M confidential information that we do not publicly disclose. The New York Post reported that 100 million masks are being produced monthly. As of March 20, 2020, annual U.S. production is reported to be around 400 million, while global production has been doubled to 1.1 billion. In addition to increasing production, 3M announced that the healthcare sector would receive more of the masks than industrial and construction industry customers. Peter Navarro said that China had decided to nationalize effectively 3M, our company. 3M said most of the masks made at their Shanghai plant had been sold prior to the outbreak, but could not confirm when exports would resume. On March 21, 2020, the New York Post reported that shortages were due to shipments from China being halted after the Chinese government mandated that manufacturers reserve the masks for Chinese customers. China has not exported any N95 masks since February 19. On April 3, it was reported that 3M was being asked by the U.S. government to stop exporting U.S.-made N95 respirator masks to Canada and to Latin American countries. It was reported that the Canadian government, at the time, did not have the ability to produce the masks domestically. Operating facilities. 3M's general offices, corporate research laboratories, and some division laboratories in the U.S. are in St. Paul, Minnesota. In the United States, 3M operates 80 manufacturing facilities in 29 states and 125 manufacturing and converting facilities in 37 countries outside the U.S. In March 2016, 3M completed a 400,000 square foot research and development building that cost $150 million on its Maplewood campus. 700 scientists from various divisions occupy the building. They were previously scattered across the campus. 3M hopes concentrating its research and development in this manner will improve collaboration. 3M received $9.6 million in local tax increment financing and relief from state sales taxes in order to assist with development of the building. N95 usage. In the United States, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration requires healthcare workers who are expected to perform patient activities with those suspected or confirmed to be infected with COVID-19 to wear respiratory protection, such as an N95 respirator. Unlike a respirator, a surgical mask does not have an airtight seal and thus does not protect its wearer against airborne particles such as virus material. Fit testing is a critical component to a respiratory protection program whenever workers use tight-fitting respirators. OSHA requires an initial respirator fit test to identify the right model, style, and size respirator for each worker, as well as annual fit tests. Additionally, tight-fitting respirators, including N95s, require a user seal check each time one is put on. Learn about 3M and Global Hunt for N95 masks. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.